We are living in an era of profound transformations, where economic, social, and technological changes shape our lives in unprecedented ways. Every day we face new challenges that demand resilience, adaptation, and a broader understanding of the forces at play in the world around us. Rising inflation, social unrest, cyber attacks, and changes in credit policies are just a few of the issues that highlight the complexity of today's reality. But what do these dynamics have in common? They all point to a global system that seems to be operating at the limits of its capacity, forcing governments, companies, and individuals to seek solutions to problems that often seem insurmountable. Inflation, for instance, is not merely an economic issue. It directly impacts people's quality of life, reducing purchasing power and eroding household savings. What makes this issue even more concerning is how it manifests, silently and often imperceptibly. Companies adopt strategies such as reducing product weights while maintaining stable prices, creating an illusion for consumers. This phenomenon, known as shrinkflation, demonstrates how markets respond to economic pressures in ways that are not easily perceived but profoundly affect daily life. On the other hand, social discontent reflects an increasingly polarized world. Popular movements in various countries, such as France, Greece, Cuba, and South Africa, reveal that inequalities and the perception of lost rights are driving millions of people into the streets. At a time when economic and health crises intertwine, trust in governments and institutions is declining, resulting in instability that threatens to delay global economic recovery. These events are not isolated. They are symptoms of a deeper unease that challenges established social and political orders. Meanwhile, technological advancements, which should ideally stabilize and drive progress, also bring new risks. Cyber attacks, increasingly frequent and sophisticated, pose a real threat to global infrastructure. From banking systems to power grids, transportation, and communications, no sector is immune. Examples such as the attack on Colonial Pipeline, which caused fuel shortages in the United States, or the breach at Kaseya, affecting over 1,500 companies across 17 countries, illustrate just how vulnerable we have become in an interconnected world. The possibility of a massive digital blackout is no longer just a hypothetical concern. It is a reality that governments and businesses must prepare to face. Another critical aspect of this scenario is the restriction of credit. With the global economy facing record levels of debt, banks are limiting access to personal credit lines, creating a delicate situation for millions who rely on these options to manage their finances. Wells Fargo's decision to terminate consumer credit lines in the United States exemplifies a worrying trend. Growing distrust within the financial system regarding consumers' ability to repay their debts. This move not only limits financial options for many families, but also reflects the fragility of an economy where credit-fueled consumption is the primary driving force. Given this panorama, it is evident that the world is undergoing a period of transition. The rules and models that once governed the global economy, social relations, and interactions with technology are being tested like never before. And the question everyone must ask is, how can we prepare for what lies ahead? As individuals, businesses, and nations, we must reassess our priorities, strategies, and capabilities to navigate a future that, while full of uncertainties, also offers opportunities for growth and transformation. In this context, information becomes an indispensable tool. Understanding the challenges that surround us is the first step toward developing effective solutions. This text seeks to explore the most impactful dynamics of the modern world, providing a detailed analysis of the most pressing issues and offering a clear perspective on what is at stake. After all, recognizing problems is just the beginning. The real challenge lies in acting proactively and strategically to ensure a more balanced and sustainable future. Whatever the impact of these transformations on your life, one thing is certain: the world as we know it is changing, and it is up to us to decide how we will position ourselves in the face of these changes. They say that if you want to boil a frog, you cannot place it directly in boiling water. It will perceive the danger, jump, and fight for its life. However, if you place it in room temperature water and slowly heat it, the frog will not notice the danger. It will expend all its energy, regulating its body temperature until it is too late. The boiling water will immobilize it and it will be cooked to death. This metaphor illustrates the concept of the boiling frog syndrome, used to explain how we accept small changes and gradual harm in our lives without realizing the cumulative impact that can ultimately destroy us. This situation is not limited to individuals. We are experiencing something similar on a global scale. The world economy seems to be at a critical juncture, and the water around us is beginning to boil slowly. Rising inflation, progressive increases in taxes, and the costs of essentials such as gasoline, electricity, and food are eroding our purchasing power. We make cuts to our desires, accept restrictions, but meanwhile, our money loses value every day. In this context, it is crucial to recognize the warning signs of an impending global crisis. Here are 6 critical points that highlight the fragility of the global economy and why it is operating at its limits. Unstoppable inflation, the tax on the pool stagflation, the economic death trap, economic bubbles, ready to burst rising public and private debt impact on labor markets, denial by central banks. Now, a critical question remains. What will central banks do? Will they continue with low interest rates, fueling bubbles and ignoring inflation? Or will they relent and raise rates, triggering a devastating recession? We are at a pivotal moment, and the choices made now will shape the future of the global economy. Additionally, credit restriction is another warning sign that cannot be ignored. Banks like Wells Fargo are limiting access to personal credit lines, highlighting the fragility of an economy where debt serves as the primary tool to sustain consumption. Credit card debt, currently at record levels, combined with the overall weakening of the economy, reveals a financial system operating at the edge of its capacity. This scenario creates a vicious cycle. Consumers overwhelmed by debt reduce spending, which further slows the economy, intensifying economic and social challenges. Cyber attacks are becoming an increasing threat to the global economy, with potentially devastating implications. Some of the most emblematic cases include SolarWinds, a sophisticated attack that impacted over 18,000 companies and U.S. government agencies, including NASA and the Pentagon. Colonial Pipeline, an attack that disrupted fuel supply across parts of the United States, causing shortages and forcing the company to pay over $4 million in ransom. Casilla, a massive attack targeting more than 1,500 companies in 17 countries, with ransom demands totaling $70 million in Bitcoin. Experts warn that a large-scale cyber attack, such as a digital blackout, could trigger an almost immediate global economic collapse. A single day without internet could disrupt banking, financial markets, transportation, and essential services like water and electricity. Governments and companies are preparing for such a scenario with initiatives like Cyber Polygon, which simulates large-scale cyber attacks to assess national response capabilities. However, vulnerabilities remain high, and the global dependence on the internet makes the potential impact even more alarming. Another emerging concern is the restriction of personal credit. Banks like Wells Fargo, one of the largest in the United States, have announced they will cease offering personal credit lines ranging from $3,000 to $100,000. Why this decision? 3 key factors explain this move. An economy at its limit. Experts suggest the U.S. economy is teetering on the brink of collapse, with high debt levels and stagnant growth. Record high debt. Credit card debt in the U.S. has reached historic highs, surpassing pre-pandemic levels. Many Americans are relying on credit to cover basic expenses, increasing the risk of default. Economic fragility. In a weak economic environment, rising defaults could trigger a banking crisis, further exposing the vulnerabilities of a system heavily reliant on consumer credit. We are living in uncertain economic times, with disguised inflation, growing social discontent, cyber threats, and credit restrictions painting a precarious global picture. Amid these challenges, it is crucial to stay alert, make informed financial decisions, and adopt proactive measures to safeguard your financial well-being. As the U.S. economy slows, an urgent question arises. What will banks do to ensure that people don't lose access to essential liquidity? At a time when personal loans could save lives and provide temporary relief for millions, many customers face challenges like penalties, credit score impacts, and increasing difficulty accessing new credit lines. Recently, U.S. banks underwent financial stress tests, a rigorous audit to evaluate their ability to withstand unforeseen crises. While these institutions reportedly passed with flying colors, a remarkable achievement given the global economic instability, recommendations emerged to tighten personal loan issuance. This raises an unsettling question. Are banks bracing for a worsening financial crisis? With alarming debt levels among citizens and rising defaults, the situation in the U.S. and Europe is increasingly complex. Financial institutions may face new regulations or restrictions driven by economic or even health crises. The current high credit environment combined with economic uncertainty could further limit access to credit for individuals and businesses, exacerbating daily challenges. 6 key warning signs in the economic landscape: rising inflation. In the U.S., inflation has reached its highest level in 13 years, climbing by 5.4%. This means the population's purchasing power is rapidly diminishing as the cost of goods and services continues to rise. Impending stagflation. A dangerous phenomenon combining high inflation, rising unemployment, and stagnant economic growth. This scenario leaves governments and central banks in a no-win situation. Concealed price increases. Many products and services are undergoing less noticeable adjustments, like reductions in quantity or quality, which impact consumers without their immediate awareness. Social unrest. The economic impact is already causing tensions, with protests and growing dissatisfaction in various countries. Global cyber risks. Experts warn of potential large-scale cyber attacks that could further destabilize the global financial system. Preparedness testing is underway, but risks remain. Personal credit restrictions. Banks are increasingly limiting personal loan issuance, depriving many of a crucial liquidity source in tough times. What can you do to protect your financial health? The current landscape is marked by uncertainty, and relying solely on authorities can be risky. Making informed and strategic financial decisions is essential to avoid financial stagnation. While the fear of investing or taking bold steps is understandable, the greatest risk lies in inaction. Protecting your financial health requires planning, diversifying investments, and seeking knowledge. Now it's your turn. Which of these 6 warning signs concerns you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Share this content with friends and family so more people stay informed and prepared to face economic challenges. After all, success comes from being ready for what lies ahead. Here's to your success. Obre. The sustainability of current economic models is increasingly under scrutiny. When credit, intended as a resource to facilitate growth and development, becomes an unsustainable burden, the impacts reverberate across all levels of society. Rising default rates not only weaken households' purchasing power, but also destabilize financial institutions, reducing their capacity to provide support in times of need. Moreover, the growing dependence on credit in economies like that of the United States reflects a disconnect between average incomes and the cost of living, highlighting economic inequalities that hinder robust economic recovery. This scenario demands reflection and action on multiple fronts. In today's rapidly evolving economic landscape, it has become more essential than ever for consumers to develop a keen awareness of the subtle and often overlooked changes that occur in the marketplace. Over the years, many economic strategies, often unnoticed by the general public, have been employed by businesses to maintain profitability, sometimes at the expense of consumer welfare. One of the most significant yet frequently overlooked practices is shrinkflation. This term refers to the phenomenon where companies reduce the size or quantity of a product without decreasing its price proportionally. For example, a food product might be sold in a smaller package, but the price remains the same, leading consumers to believe that they are paying the same price for the same quantity when, in reality, they are receiving less. The widespread use of shrinkflation has a deep impact on how consumers perceive their economic reality. While it may seem like the economy is stable at first glance, these subtle increases in the cost of living can accumulate over time, leading to significant financial strain for families. Recognizing such practices is not just about understanding the immediate impact on purchasing power. It is about uncovering the broader economic trends that often go unnoticed. Shrinkflation, for instance, is not just a tactic used to maintain profits in times of economic downturn. It's part of a larger strategy of maintaining the illusion of stability in the face of inflation. For consumers, the first step in responding to such hidden economic shifts is awareness. By recognizing these hidden price increases, individuals can start making more informed and strategic consumption decisions. Being aware of the true cost of goods, as well as monitoring prices over time, allows consumers to make smarter choices and avoid being caught off guard by changes that could impact their finances. This also means being on the lookout for alternative products that offer similar or better quality at more affordable prices. By comparing options and prioritizing those that provide better value for money, consumers can protect themselves from the financial strain caused by inflationary pressures. In addition, consumers can take action by developing habits of conscious spending. This includes assessing needs versus wants and understanding the long-term financial implications of regular purchases. For example, switching to store brands or bulk buying certain items might offer significant savings over time. Similarly, consumers can explore more sustainable ways of managing their finances, from reducing unnecessary expenditures to investing in products that offer long-term benefits, rather than those that only seem like short-term bargains. While individual consumer awareness is critical, it is equally important to recognize the power of collective action in shaping broader economic outcomes. Structural reforms are often driven by public pressure, and social movements, though they may sometimes be tumultuous, provide a necessary outlet for public dissatisfaction. These movements are not merely a response to political leadership, but rather a reflection of the dissatisfaction that emerges when economic policies fail to address the growing inequalities in society. Whether through protests, strikes, or organized campaigns, collective action can catalyze significant changes in government policies and corporate practices that directly impact consumers. A key area where collective action has historically proven effective is in the reform of fiscal policies. These policies govern how governments collect and spend money, and they have a profound impact on the financial well-being of citizens. For example, when tax systems are regressive, meaning that they disproportionately burden lower-income households, there is an urgent need for reform. Similarly, when banks and financial institutions engage in practices that penalize consumers, such as high interest rates or unfair lending terms, there is a need for new regulations to level the playing field. By actively participating in political debates, voting for representatives who genuinely prioritize the needs of the majority, and holding elected officials accountable for their actions, consumers can play a direct role in reshaping the policies that affect their financial futures. Social movements can also bring attention to the unequal distribution of resources and the failure of governments to address the most pressing needs of their citizens. For example, movements focused on healthcare, education, or workers' rights highlight the broader issue of income inequality and the importance of public investment in social infrastructure. When public policy does not reflect the needs of the majority, collective action becomes a powerful tool for demanding change. Furthermore, participating in policy discussions does not only mean joining protests or marches. Citizens can also engage in the political process through petitions, town hall meetings, or community outreach programs. By educating themselves about the policies that shape their financial environment and advocating for reform, consumers can ensure that their voices are heard in the halls of power. The rapid advancement of technology has brought with it a new set of challenges, particularly in the realm of digital security. As we become increasingly dependent on digital infrastructure for everyday activities, such as shopping, banking, and even communication, the risks associated with cyber attacks grow exponentially. Cybersecurity is no longer just a concern for large corporations or governments. It has become a critical issue for individuals as well. Cyber attacks are increasingly sophisticated and can have devastating consequences. A breach in digital security could result in the theft of personal data, financial loss, or even the collapse of critical services. For instance, large-scale attacks on financial institutions, healthcare systems, or government agencies can cause widespread disruption and potentially undermine public trust in digital systems. In recent years, we've seen several high-profile cyber attacks that have exposed vulnerabilities in even the most secure systems, from data breaches in major corporations to ransomware attacks that have crippled essential services. This escalating threat makes it essential for individuals and organizations alike to invest in robust cybersecurity measures. Governments and corporations must continue to develop and implement advanced security systems to protect data and networks. However, the responsibility does not fall solely on these institutions. Individuals must also take proactive steps to secure their personal information. This includes adopting practices such as using strong, unique passwords, enabling two-factor authentication, and staying informed about potential threats. One of the greatest risks in today's interconnected world is the lack of awareness regarding digital vulnerabilities. By taking simple precautions, individuals can protect themselves from becoming victims of cybercrime. The potential consequences of a massive cyber attack, a collapse of financial services, or even transportation systems demonstrate how fragile our reliance on technology can be. For individuals, being proactive about digital security is not just an act of precaution. It is an essential part of safeguarding their financial well-being in an increasingly digital world. Personal finance. Strategies for resilience. With rising costs and restrictions on credit, personal financial resilience has become more important than ever. Individuals must adopt proactive strategies to ensure that they are prepared for economic uncertainty and can weather the challenges posed by inflation and financial restrictions. There are several key strategies that can help individuals safeguard their financial health. Building an emergency fund. Having savings to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses is one of the most effective ways to protect yourself during times of uncertainty. An emergency fund provides a safety net when unexpected costs arise, such as medical bills, car repairs, or job loss. By gradually saving a portion of your income and keeping it in a liquid, easily accessible account, you can prepare for life's uncertainties. Diversifying income sources. Relying on a single income stream can be risky, especially in times of economic instability. Exploring alternative ways to generate revenue, such as freelancing, starting a side business, or investing in assets that provide passive income, can reduce financial vulnerability and provide greater financial security. Reducing debt. Prioritizing the repayment of high-interest debts, such as credit cards, is a critical long-term strategy for reducing financial strain. Paying off these debts as quickly as possible can help improve your credit score and free up resources for savings and investment. Financial education. Understanding personal finance is essential for making informed decisions about money. Investing in financial education, whether through books, courses, or consultations with financial advisors, can provide individuals with the knowledge needed to plan for the future, invest wisely, and build wealth over time. As we move further into the 21st century, it is clear that we are living in an era of unprecedented change. The challenges posed by inflation, rising debt levels, and the erosion of economic stability require not only personal resilience, but also collective action. As individuals, it is crucial that we embrace a proactive approach to managing our finances and protecting our futures. This means developing greater awareness of the economic forces shaping our world and making informed decisions that prioritize long-term financial health. At the same time, it is crucial to recognize that the challenges we face today are not isolated incidents, but rather part of a much larger, ongoing global transformation. Issues such as cyber attacks, rising income inequality, and increasing social discontent are deeply interconnected, reflecting underlying systemic problems that require comprehensive solutions. These challenges are not only limited to specific countries or regions, but have far-reaching implications that affect people and communities worldwide. They are symptoms of broader shifts in technology, politics, economics, and social structures. Cyber attacks, for instance, highlight the vulnerability of our increasingly digitized world. As technology becomes more integrated into our daily lives, the risks of data breaches, financial fraud, and even the collapse of essential services grow exponentially. These attacks are not just isolated incidents, but are part of a global trend toward a more interconnected, yet increasingly fragile digital infrastructure. The consequences of such attacks can ripple across entire economies, destabilizing markets and eroding trust in the systems we rely on. Income inequality, on the other hand, continues to widen, creating divisions that undermine social cohesion. The disparity between the wealthy and the rest of the population is not only an issue of economic imbalance, but also one of access to opportunities, healthcare, education, and financial security. This inequality fosters discontent and creates a sense of injustice that can destabilize societies. Addressing these inequalities requires a multifaceted approach that not only focuses on redistributing wealth, but also ensures that all individuals have access to the resources and opportunities they need to succeed. Social discontent, meanwhile, is a direct response to the growing dissatisfaction with the status quo. As more people struggle to meet basic needs while witnessing the accumulation of wealth by a few, frustration grows. Social movements, protests, and political upheavals often arise from this discontent, as individuals and communities demand a more just and equitable system. These movements reflect the need for systemic change, where people are no longer sidelined in favor of corporate interests or economic systems that prioritize profits over people. To effectively tackle these challenges, we must acknowledge that no single issue exists in a vacuum. They are all interconnected and stem from deeper systemic problems that require coordinated, global action. If we are to address the threat of cyber attacks, we must invest in stronger, more resilient digital infrastructures while simultaneously addressing the root causes of digital inequality. If we are to combat income inequality, we must ensure that economic policies are designed to benefit everyone, not just a select few. And if we are to alleviate social discontent, we must create a society where all individuals have the opportunity to thrive, where opportunities are not limited by wealth or status. To achieve this, we must work together as a society, governments, businesses, communities, and individuals. Creating solutions that promote stability, equity, and shared prosperity will require collaboration at all levels. It is not enough to leave these issues to a small group of policymakers or corporate leaders. Every person has a role to play in shaping a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable future. From pushing for policy reforms to supporting social movements, to making more sustainable consumption choices, every action counts. Moreover, addressing these challenges will require a shift in mindset. We must move away from a culture of short-term thinking and begin to prioritize long-term solutions that benefit everyone, not just the few. This means rethinking how we approach growth, wealth distribution, and social welfare. It means reimagining what a successful economy looks like, one that values well-being and sustainability over profits and growth at all costs. What about you? Given the complexity of these challenges, what strategies do you believe are most effective in addressing them? How can we ensure that the solutions we propose are inclusive and sustainable, rather than merely temporary fixes? What steps are you personally willing to take to protect your financial well-being and contribute to a more equitable and resilient future? It's time to reflect on our collective responsibility in this rapidly evolving world. The actions we take today will shape the future we leave for the next generations. So, join this critical conversation, share your insights, and contribute to building a more resilient and balanced future for all. Remember, the greatest risk is not acting in the face of such profound global challenges. Now is the time to act, learn, adapt, and thrive, ensuring a future that works for everyone. The world is changing fast, and we must be part of the solution.